All right, so we're starting video 2 of 3 with Honeywell. Good company, well managed. I would consider it industrial and related to growth, global growth. I'm not happy about how ginger this is. I am happy that this is a target of mine that I had drawn for us, and they priced it twice. I believe we need to go to a weekly in order to really ascertain what's going on. Let's take out all the drawings. So this was my target twice. It has buyers at 160 into 150. So it has tremendous support. It also has downside target from here that has played out. Downside target from here and here that points to 130, 120. So I would not add to current risk. If I'm getting long, I would leave the opportunity to add more at 140 if it comes, or 130. I don't know what that is. On a weekly basis, there should be buyers into $7. $8 to $7 there are buyers. Let's drill down. Bounces into 950, I would sell. There could be a bounce, but I don't have recent enough support. Losing this says it's going to 5. This is a head and shoulders that points down to here, so be careful. I don't know what this is. Interdigital. Whew, that is a broken stock into pandemic lows. I'm not sure that this is going to help you surgically, but 37 sticks out, as does 39. Wow, that is collapse. And look, that's the downside scenario pricing out. IEO on a weekly basis, there is an ascending trend. On a daily basis, it's probably gone. Now they're going flat. I would not be long this stock. What I see here, them losing this and coming down to 65. That's what I see. That's a head and shoulders right there. And the downside, I'm going to eyeball it this way. And if I measure it correctly, I'm going to give it not full credit. So I'm being generous about that. Yep, I'm very comfortable with that scenario. That my arrow is not being bearish. It's being a little bit less bearish than it should be. And look at this. Yeah, I would not be long the stock right here. IEP, Icon Enterprises. So my problem with a stock that has the name of a person like Icon, what would the stock do if Icon leaves, one reason or another? He is old, super smart guy, and that's the problem. The whole thing revolves around him, or at least perception. So there's that headline at risk. So it's not for me. It has support into 48, 49 to 48, 47 and a half. There are buyers below here. But I think if this stock is rallying, so is the market, and I don't want to take Icon headlines. Intel, what are you talking about? I mean, what are you talking about? This is absolutely ridiculous. I would just own the shares and forget I own them. I would not add. If I got assigned shares, I would just take them and own. It has never been cheaper. That in my lifetime, not in my lifetime, on my screens, it's never been cheaper. Here is the value. It is 5 PE, in the fives. Price to sales, 1.5 times. So somebody walks into Intel, say, I'd like to buy your company. I'm going to give you 1.5 years worth of sales, and you're going to walk away from the company. That is grossly underpriced, but it is what it is. Anyway, it is not a superstar, but it is the beast. It is the biggest semiconductor brain company on the planet. It's bigger than the other two combined twice. Anyway, there's no respect. So this is the Rodney Dangerfield. You either own the shares and forget about them, or you say, I don't want to touch it. I don't know what's going on. JK Solar, let's go to a daily. Good support zone. I don't like this gap. Well, maybe gap, maybe not gap. Sellers into 60. As it rallies into $60 or 62.5, I would expect sellers. Coles, I would stay away from it. The company itself told you they're looking for sellers, alternatives. I wouldn't touch it. Just lost support. It does have just lost support. It has support below, but I wouldn't touch it. It could be $15. I don't know. It could be $8. I don't know. If I'm long, I would consider setting stops, and I would not add. Labu, somebody asked about Labu. I'm going to answer Labu by saying XBI, because Labu is XBI. The reason why you don't see a low, because it started recently, So the XBI opportunity is, look, every XBI opportunity I wrote up, I believe, played out well. And I think I can repeat it. It has support, it has upside targets. So if somebody wants to go long Labu, that's fine, based on the XBI chart. So we'll drill down into XBI opportunity to decide if Labu is good. Because if I go to Labu, there's not enough ticks to determine if that's good or bad. So have higher lows knocking on prior fails. So I think if they can clear 83, they can get to 88. So I would like a credit put spread in Labu, if possible, actually an XBI or a debit call spread in Labu. Labu is a 3x ETF, so I don't know how it trades with spreads. Okay, so it's into a buy the dip opportunity, and I would just buy shares or calls with a really tight stop. It's a trade. LAC has support, has a lot of sellers into 29.5, 30. So if I get to 30, I would exit my longs or see how it does on dips. First job is to hold these lows. If you lose this low, you probably drop another buck or two from there. It is not liquid. I wouldn't use options. Lilly, this is a gap that is destined to fill at some point, so I wouldn't short it. I don't trade Lilly. It beat me. Let's put it this way. The last trade in Lilly almost lost me money, and it aggravated me to high heaven, so I ditched it. That's the one I say, freaking Lilly, because I just don't like trading it anymore. This is a lot of weakness. Let's see what happens. At 315, maybe it'll be an opportunity. Lockheed Martin is so active for no reason. At this point in time, I could sell a put spread, but I believe it has an earnings coming, and I don't want the pre-announcement, so I'm not going to do it. But it is available. So if somebody wants to do it, I think they should go down to December down here and do an Iron Condor maybe. But it's not for me. Love, I'm not sure if somebody asked for that or was a... anyway, you know what that is if you're watching this video. This is a daily chart. Man, I here or 16, I don't know. There's no recent support. So one wrong tick and it gets to 16. LUV, almost worth a shot. So this is a lean mean company, the airline. But look, there's no... If I go long LUV, it'll be against this and the pandemic lows. So I should make sure that my style of trade allows for that to not eat away at my call values. So I would either buy shares and not even a half position, or buy sell puts to own shares, or sell a put spread. That type of deal. I've been flying lately, and I don't know how they can make money. How they're not making money. They're charging for everything. The prices are super high, and they can't figure it out. Anyway, there is an earnings report soon. So maybe if we get a flush on that, I will enter. MasterCard. Almost there, but the fact that they lost this tells me that there's a lot more downside potential, but technically it could bounce to 310. Yes, you heard that right. So here's the deal. Even though they lost this and it's a neckline that says 250 is doable, against these there might be a bounce. So if I wanted to get long against this, I can. How? I would buy calls, buy shares, buy a call spread, sell a put spread, both. Combination of those. And if it bounces to 300, I would exit. McDonald, same comment. Collapse. Wow. And I could get long against these, but there's earnings, so be careful with that. Okay. Look, I can get long against these. What are these? Sharp bounces. So, but if I get the bounce, I should exit. Treat it as a trade. MCO, Moody's Corporation. Yeah, I wouldn't touch these guys. If we're going to have a crash because some asset class got hurt, these are the guys that caused it, because they rate everything, right? And if they rated some, remember the 2008, everything that went to zero, they rated it as AA and AAA until it wasn't. It was junk, useless paper. What is it? Mortgage-backed securities. Yet they are still allowed to exist. Criminals is what it is. Anyway, not for me. Definitely not for me. MDB support is solid, but it's so old that I don't know how sharp it is. So either here or 165. There is support below. From a trading perspective, it's an okay entry, but sellers into 250. So again, it's not for me. Facebook, the company is super cheap, like Intel, no respect. The levels are below the pandemic levels. It doesn't make sense. It's almost a single digit PE. I would have never thought that Facebook, one of the largest, fastest growing companies, a company that controls at least 3 billion sets of eyeballs a day, every day for hours at a time, is collapsing and has not found a buyer. I don't understand this. I own shares for the long term in small accounts, and I will add to my shares, but not yet. I could sell puts to own shares. I could sell puts and buy calls to own shares and be long, like a stock replacement strategy, as a flyer on a successful company that is still growing like gangbuster, but the market is not giving it credit. This is a yearly, and they're worried about this taper down on the quarterly. I think it's bizarre. Let's go see how much cash it generates. Okay, $11-12 billion a quarter in cash from operations. What? $12 billion a quarter. You know, 2020, 40 billion, 2021, 60 billion in cash from operations. There's nothing wrong with the company. People hate Mark Zuckerberg, but Sheryl Sandberg, the ex-officer, apparently now needs personal protection because of her job in Facebook. That's how much hate there is around this company. I mean, they're politically active, which they shouldn't be, which is my reason to say that they're being upset about their headlines. But the company cranks out dollars. This is not an opportunity to panic out of Facebook. Let's look at the pandemic levels. It is now below the level from when the world was closed for business and we had a rampant virus that we didn't know how to control. This is lower. Like, they perceive that not right now the business is more trouble than it was when the world was completely shut down and we didn't have a clue if we were going to die from a virus or not. That is nuts. That's absolutely nuts. And it's near the 2019 base. So I consider this an entry opportunity, not an exit opportunity. And the rally could be massive. Swing rally into a year could be massive. We're talking 240 to 280 potential. So a double. I wouldn't go all in, but it's available. MGM. I stayed at one of their hotels. Sucks. Anyway. Pivot point is right here. Do I have lines? I must. There it is. That box is actually too low. There are buyers in here. If I wanted shorter term comments. Okay, it's not a place to exit. I have buyers here, buyers below here. So if I'm long stock, I'm confident. But I'm also confident that there are sellers into 32. I don't know what that is. Martin Marietta, I know. Not an obvious point of entry. It's range bound. It's got sellers here. It's got buyers here. So I'm stuck. It's stuck. MMM. So once they lost this, my target was here. That unknown risk, based on the fact that it has potentially 200,000 lawsuits against one of its subsidiaries. Do your homework. Company's good, but they may need to pay out billions in fees or stuck with these looming headlines that hurt the stock. Perception also counts. MP, technically, okay, it could bounce to 30. It will have sellers into 30, 31. I'm not a fan, but technically, this is not the time to exit out, and the opportunity is there with sellers above. There are buyers below. So for me, I think I can find better opportunities than this one, but it's there. If I own the shares, I probably will stick it out. MPC, not an obvious point of entry. It's running into a prior fail at 102. Maybe a dip towards 94 would be better. MPW, wow, it's like MP this, MP that. What is this? Medical properties. Real estate, not for me, most definitely. However, look, it's falling into the pandemic level, so that makes sense. Facebook does not make sense. This makes sense. Maybe you bounce there, maybe you don't. So if you know the company, it's too late to panic, and it could bounce to 14. It will have sellers there, plus or minus. This, do homework on the company, folks. The chart is not going to help you. The only thing the chart tells you, this was the worst case scenario, and it may or may not be the absolute worst case scenario for this year. So if you want to be long against that and then exit, that fine. But I don't know anything about it. I can tell you there'll be sellers technically into $9. Merck, stuck in muck, middle of the range, buyers below, sellers above. Look at that candle. Buyers below, sellers above. Not for me. You break out of 88, 89, maybe you get to 90.5. Microsoft, I like it better at 220. It will follow markets, but it's one of those companies that still has a lot of fat from the pandemic. That's the pandemic level. It's still up here. That's too much distance. So if I take this out, you can see how the sellers are in control every rally. So if it rallies to 260, exit. There are buyers below here. I guarantee you this cluster is a lot of support between 225 and 200. I would get long, but if I get a bounce, I will exit on that bounce to trade it. Stock is broken. Do your homework on the company. The chart will not give you any information. Did I pass the next break? I did. No. Where are we stopping? MSauce. Okay, good. Nick, you don't know how to spell. NCLH. Whoops. So NCLH is another cruise company down in sympathy to that other headline, 20% into prior base. So the stock is better than that other one. So if I were to take a cruise line stock, this would be the one, not the other one. Now, if I lose this, it may go to minus 14. So not my forecast. So there's a buyer here and a buyer into this, whatever that is. That's the pandemic low. But I'm not a fan, but it is tradable. And if I own it, it's too late to panic, and I'm holding my breath that these hold. So, it's a low dollar speculative bet on a real hard bounce, but not my style. Nike, I went long. You saw the note. I would be a seller of puts and put spreads into this kind of freak out. Nike does not have a sales problem. I was just talking about somebody yesterday that wanted to buy, he's skimping on his cell phone bill in order to buy more shoes. Some people just love them. They lost their support. There is definitely a buyer in here. So as it approaches 75, it is a solid buying opportunity, if not here already. Not an obvious point of entry. Good, solid performance from a strong stock, but now you have sellers at 485. Not for me. And a gap down here, definitely not for me. Maybe if it falls to 449, 450, it'd be more attractive. Novarco, is that what it is? Maybe not. I thought they got bought out. So this may be to something different. Technically, this is not an obvious entry point. It dipped back into 15 maybe. If it loses 14, forget about it. Exit. You don't know how low it goes. It's probably single digits. NVIDIA, it's going to single digits. No, it's not. It's not. It's same comments as AMD. Good company. Not too cheap yet. Inside of a bearish scenario, all kinds of head and shoulders which have targets in the high 80s. So I think there is a chance, not a good chance, there is a chance it goes back to pre-pandemic levels, which is 80. Technically that wouldn't even be the actual target of the biggest head and shoulder that's available, but my point is, if it rallies, I would sell it like these. I wouldn't chase it. So I either buy it here with a stop, or I would let it hit the floor and I'd try to pick it up. There are sellers into 136. If you take out this level right there, 141, good first solid opportunity. So I would say here, beating strong bear. Good news for stocks. Ali, this candle is definitely showing that there's a buyer down there. Let me go to a daily chart and see if I can get that. Yeah, there's a whole cluster of buyers down here. So it is into support, but rallies will be sold, and I think it will drift down to 45 if the markets don't recover. So if you do get a rally, consider it a trade and sell into all these candles. I don't know what that is. Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, that's a broken chart. You need to do homework on the company. The chart is not going to help you. On semi, this is not an obvious entry point. It is a trading point with a stop below 61. And if I get stopped out at 61, I'll re-engage into 55. Or, yeah, below 56. If I get a rally to 66, I would exit, especially, or 68. Oracle. I haven't looked at Oracle in a while. Not an obvious entry point. It does have support. If the market stabilizes, it will too. But I think there's an opportunity to buy it under 56. Penn, at support, must hold. If not, it falls below 20. I like it as an investment for the long term. I would own shares for the long term. If I had a credit put spread and I get put the shares, I would take them. I wouldn't defend the credit put spread. I wouldn't take a loss. I think I can make money off of the shares themselves. I would immediately sell covered calls after I get put the shares. Oh, okay, let's go here and go to the shorter term. Okay, look at this hard line in the sand. So 28.2 would be good news to give us some breathing room. Higher lows versus 28. Unfortunately, look, rally sold, rally sold, rally sold, rally. Let's see if they can take this out first before this. So that's the battle. This before that. Pepsi, not for me. Falling into support. Look how wide the band of support is. Look how tall this iron condor is. That's why I tell you, how many stocks did I say will go tremendously lower? This is $14. So it's saying that this is the target of this Head and Shoulders, which would be the pandemic and all of these. Is it the pandemic? No, not even. The lows of this year. So yeah, I wouldn't touch it. As an investment, as a trade, fine. Play, same thing. You have 3 bounces. This is the third one. Will it hold? Yes. If it does, then I would sell at 37. Anything above 36 is an exit point. I would stop out immediately if we lose that last bounce. I don't want to know how low it goes. So this is not a place to exit if I'm already long. This is a place where I can nibble with stops as a trade, but I should get out into 35 and 36. PLL, this is not an obvious buying opportunity. It's too risky for me. It could be at 44 and 42. It has sellers into 60. Palantir, great opportunity because how well it traded last week in tough conditions. Couple of days it was up big on really down big down days. So I own shares, as you know. I sold the credit put spread, which I shared. The put, it went into money several times, and I said no, I wouldn't capitulate. I would take the shares. If they assigned me shares, I would have I would have taken a profit because of all the protections that we had in place. Anyway, I'm long shares as an investment for the long term. If it goes above 850, it can gain another $1 where it will find a lot of technical sellers. And I don't think I would exit my shares. I'm willing to hold this for 2, 3, 4 years. The company is doing great, absolutely great. The sales are progressing well. The management is good, strong. PSX, not for me. It's running into prior fail. This would not be an entry point. And boy, I cannot remember what the break. Okay, one more, PUBM. Okay, so this is the last ticker on this second video of 3. It has support here, and if you lose that, then you're going below 15 versus sellers all the way through 19. So not a great place to be. All right, I'm going to stop this second video here.